Hey guys, it's your boy Deempo. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's doing well. And today we are back with some more Starfield Shattered Space news. So this is an article by Kotaku. So John Walker has had some hands-on time with the game and he pretty much outlined here what Shattered Space is about. So let's have a look through the article and then I'll share my thoughts on it. So Shattered Space's irresistible horror vibes have me ready to reinstall Starfield, which is a good sign because a lot of people have abandoned the game. Just pause that. So, Shattered Space, the upcoming first major expansion to Starfield, feels like Bethesda returning to an old comfy chair. Albeit a horror-driven, combat-intensive chair set in a half-destroyed capital city that's the victim of a tear in space-time. But rather than another galaxy-wide sprawling set of adventures like the base game, this is a tale told on one planet. A confined and controlled narrative that is far more reminiscent of the old Elder Scrolls approach. This is great. I'm super excited for this, because they're taking a more story-driven, tailored approach. However, having said that, that doesn't mean we're not going to be getting new weapons or new points of interest, so on and so on. I think they will be expanding on the game, not just from a Shattered Space perspective, but I think there'll be a massive overhaul to the game coming as well. Because mind you, this is an expansion, not just a DLC. So, moving on. During Bethesda's closed doors showing of the game, Varun Kai was shown to be a planet distinct from the rest of the explorable galaxy. Its capital city has been rent asunder by a tear in the fabric of space-time. A place described as somewhat humanity's search for knowledge that otherwise drives the overarching narrative of Starfield has gone too far. Whatever its scientists were up to, and it was something to do with grav drive technology, it's had devastating effect, and you're now exploring the remains as various factions fight for control in the void of the leadership. This almost reminds me as the warp of like Warhammer 40k. But anyways, more on that later. So the Shattered Space demo footage shown at this week's Gamescom began with a brutal scene of floating dead bodies in the dark, metallic corridors, a vibe that immediately spoke of far more horror than Starfield's more similar science fiction cleanliness. So if you've played the Escape quest, the one, so not without spoiling it for anyone, essentially it's like a new paid Bethesda quest, and it's very grim. It's pretty much like a movie, like a scene out of the movie Saw. Like you're in like this room, you need to sort out a puzzle and get off the station, and it's just very sort of horror centric. Anyways, this is a planet with a more alien feel, its landscape much more peculiar, featuring gravitational anomalies among the many things going wrong for the locals. So it seems like there's going to be a local populace. This is going to be a city, but it's going to be a city in another dimension, or what they want to call the tear in space-time. What followed in the demo was a lengthy series of events taking place in the aftermath of the Rune People recent disaster, which is so much worse when you learn those rifts in space are now letting in some gruesome monsters from another reality. Guys, if this is not Warhammer 40k reminiscence with the warp and like, you know, the warp tearing through the materium and all the demons walking through, this is exactly straight out of the playbook. So the immediate vibe was fear. It very strikingly reminded me of Monolith's classic spook shooters, as the player character crept around abandoned sci-fi corridors plagued by the green beasts incessantly leaping at them. So look, a lot of articles were published on this. A lot of people call it this was going to be very horror driven narrative experience, and it seems like that's exactly what they're driving at with this new expansion. So Bethesda's Brad Chaplin described Varun Kai as a secluded, handcrafted location featuring an isolated faction who had been living on a planet separate from outside communication. The culture had therefore developed independently of what has previously been explored in Starfield. So we're getting to experience this for the first time pretty much, which of course gives carte blanche for the team to make something that feels other distinct and not shackled by perhaps less than adored nature of the rest of the game. Fair point, fair point. I feel like there's a lot of factions that need a lot of fleshing out. Hopefully we're going to see in years to come. If anything, it seems to have given them freedom to return to their roots. This is very, very important here, because the Bethesda that we know and love, for example, the Elder Scrolls series, even Fallout, it's when they get creative and they deliver that narrative driven experience where they truly shine. So obviously they're a sandbox game, it is all about the open world, but they do tend to nail the narrative from time to time. So following this recent crisis with vast amounts of the capital city destroyed and before any rebuilding has begun, you show up. The remainder of the citadel, where the power structure of the area was based, is now contained with some peculiar energy field, and the leader is missing, meaning there's power vacuum. This is pursued by minor houses, the area's factions, the Zealots, Spaces, and Crimson Fleet. Okay. Alright, okay. So it seems like Spaces and Crimson Fleet are in there as well. So it's going to be a political landscape that you have to navigate. And that of course means all sorts of faction rivalry, which means you can get to replay the expansion 3 times. There's 3 different factions, you can side with all of them. So that gives you some replayability there as well. I hope we get new weapons for Spaces, new weapons for Crimson Fleet, and we get a new weapon. For Varun, we know we're getting new weapons. That's been confirmed in the trailer. So to match the different location, Bethesda is looking to see the game played differently too. While most people have approached Starfield as a remote shooter, keeping your distance and sniping from afar, in Shadow Space, there's a push to force people to get far more up close and personal with ambushes, close quarter combat, and a great deal more panic. I hope they revamp the melee system because it has so much potential, but so far they've completely neglected it. They've done 1 or 2 minor updates to melee, but still leaves a lot to be desired. So we want to lean on the mystery of horror aspects at Bethesda. Space is scary, and part of that getting that across is tapping into the chaos of combat. It's all very much part of what is horror first expansion. Okay, fair enough. Well, you can leave the planet anytime you wish. Given Starfield's open nature, the plot here is entirely self-contained. An exploration of the planet and the city will lead to uncovering exactly what happened here, and we're told becoming entangled in a political feud between minor houses. You, of course, will be part of deciding the fate of the city, in typical Bethesda fashion, and which faction eventually takes control. I wonder though if given that this isn't a tear of space and time, if you're someone that's already sided with pirates or you've gone against the pirates, I wonder how that will impact this, if it's going to impact it at all. This refocusing of how Starfield is played and experienced could be a boon for the Alien project. What Bethesda describes as one of our biggest games, which was on launch anyway, the publisher could well be including the likes of Rogue Warrior and Wet in that list. And Starfield has certainly not retained its audience, which is also true. There is few of us, faithful community, but this game should have been booming right now. Unfortunately, it's falling behind both Skyrim and Fallout in terms of concurrent players. At the time of writing, it's holy moly, only 6,000 players on Steam compared to, there you go. So Fallout's dwarfing it. So releasing something that seems so deliberately different, both in terms of its vibe and nature, could be a well-timed decision. The idea that there's a complete detailed story to play through, all taking place in one confined location, outside its sphere-like atmosphere, has been wanting to return to the game for the first time since its launch week. So this guy hasn't played the game since the game launched, yet he got access to the expansion. Presumably Bethesda is hoping this will be a desire shared by the hundreds of thousands who have played back in July. Guys, let me know your thoughts, what you think about this. I think this will bring a lot of players back. Whether it's going to retain all those players remains to be seen. I think Bethesda are on the right track. They've following that massive Fallout 4 update. They've turned things around. They're just focusing now on Starfield alone, and it's gone to show. We've gotten some great new features, the buggy being the last one. We keep getting a lot of fixes, but we do need a lot more meat. Right now the game is still a skeleton, so hopefully we get a lot more that'll keep us engaged. You know, people might argue, oh, but you get to experience it once for 100 hours. Some of us don't want to jump onto another game. Some of us wants to keep playing this. Some of us want to keep experiencing this game all over again. So we need things to keep this fresh, right? Anyways, that's my take on things. I don't know where you guys stand on the issue. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And yeah, hope to catch you next video. Peace.